Yo.
What's good, everybody? Welcome to episode number 13 of the Honey Bunches of Goats podcast. I'm your man, Kyle.
Raul.
KJ, what up?
We are currently in the aftermath of one of the best fights in boxing in 2020, guys. VASYL Lomachenko versus
Teofimo Lopez.
Teofimo Lopez. It was a great fight. I think that we saw a lot of growth out of Teofimo Lopez. I think we all underrated his boxing skill because we all were impressed by his physical skills, especially his power. Yet, before the fight, we were all kind of like banking on Lomachenko's, skill and speed and experience to, really put it on a young Teofimo Lopez. They figured out something in Lomachenko that kind of stifled and neutralized his defense. That I think those first 8 rounds showed a lot of poise and a lot of skill by Teofimo Lopez to control the ring and really neutralize Lomachenko's weapons. Like, what did you think?
Same. We all know that he comes in to brawl. He usually knocks people out with his strength. But we never really saw this side of Teofimo Lopez where he comes in and kind of like a chess match, he figures out Lomachenko. Even before that, he stuck to his game plan and kind of even boxed and was the faster fighter the first couple of rounds.
Yeah. There was a significant, it was a noticeable tension when the fight started about who was going to control distance and who was going to control the where the fight was going to go. And the one thing that I saw in Teofimo Lopez, especially as me being a left-handed boxer, that I could see what he was trying to do to Lomachenko, he kept on centering Lomachenko with his sharp jab and his right hand. So he kept on, for those first 8 rounds, he kept on he didn't let Lomachenko set. Because the one thing Lomachenko likes to do is he likes to set before he advances his attack.
Yep.
And whenever Lopez was feeling like Lomachenko wanted to set, he threw a jab out. Even if it was blocked or if it was noticed, he threw a jab out. He either made him block or made him step back.
Yeah, he wasn't giving Lomachenko any angles to work with. And we all know Lomachenko is very infamous in using those angles, shots, setting up with weird angles, counter attacks. But no, Teofimo Lopez, for the most part, was cutting the ring very well.
Very well.
And to my surprise and everybody else's, we all knew that his inside game is one of the best. But for him to do all this and adjust and kind of fight him out towards the outside at a distance was very impressive.
Yeah. He just interrupted Lomachenko's rhythm anytime he tried to get set for his offense, especially for those first 8 rounds. There was a significant issue with size for Lomachenko because normally against guys that he's either the same size or even just a little bit bigger, he can get around them. He can use his footwork and get around and that way use his angles. But when I say by centering, Lopez kept on keeping Lomachenko right down the middle. Even if he was out of range, he didn't let him get to those angles, to the side angles.
Yeah, and he mentioned this himself too in the post-interview fight. He mentioned, I didn't let Lomachenko do anything. I stopped him. I stopped his rhythm, and most of all, I did not respect him. And we obviously saw this in the pre-build-up fight. We all saw this in the Blood, Sweat, and Tears documentary. He was just talking all this trash, and he backed it up.
Theo was talking trash?
Yeah, man. And including his father, but, man, they backed it up. In the end of the day, that's what matters.
Yeah. There was also times where even when Lomachenko wanted to set, Lopez was very smart in taking what Lomachenko gave him and either threw a hook to the body or to back him up, he would throw the double jab and then the straight right to the body. And even if it didn't land, it would make Lomachenko have to either back up and reset or just have him back up and kind of interrupting his rhythm, that rhythm that he likes going forward and side to side.
Yeah.
And I had friends tell me that Lomachenko has an issue fighting backwards. And he kind of does.
Yeah.
You can tell his back foot kind of shuffles.
And guys, I don't know if you guys remember this, but I've been saying this for the most part is he had trouble against Linares trying to figure him out in those first couple of rounds. Yeah. And that was his downfall. You know, somebody as Teofimo at the age of 23, so athletic and so in top endurance shape, you can't afford
excellent.
You can't afford to start out late.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And
He started just way too late. Yeah.
And
Lomachenko.
if you compare Linares with Teofimo, Linares could easily say I don't want to say he's past the hill or over the hill, but past his prime.
I mean,
but
he is past his prime. But I will say this, that Linares 135 is the ceiling, because he tried to go to 140 against Cano and got knocked out in the first round. So 135 is ceiling. Teofimo Lopez, this is his beginning, you know.
No,
like,
yeah.
The 135 is
beginning.
So he's no, not just that, but his size and size.
His whole campaign is the takeover.
Yeah.
And it just goes to show his age and everything that he's about is definitely the takeover.
Yeah.
Linares, compared to him, his takeover was in a little bit towards the past now.
Yeah.
And I saw this live, and I saw, even including with my dad, me and him both agree that Lomachenko, we saw a few flaws in his game plan, in his style of boxing against a power puncher. It just so happens that Linares gassed out towards the end of the rounds, and he took advantage.
To be fair, Lomachenko made him gas out, like made him work, because he was also hitting Linares as well. Because a lot of people saw the Linares fight as a little bit close. I actually had it pretty comfortable for Lomachenko. Actually,
I had it close. Up ringside with my pops.
Yeah,
me and him had it pretty close.
I had pretty much all but maybe I think 2 rounds. That round that he hit Lomachenko, another one, because they were both trading shots, but it always seemed like Lomachenko was getting the last word in some respects.
I will say though, the one thing that you said earlier right now that Linares didn't do that Teofimo capitalized is going to the body early, and apart from that, sliding in that uppercut to have him at a distance and not let Lomachenko hit the angles, the sides. He slid in those uppercuts perfect.
Yeah. The difference also, what I saw in approach, is that Linares, when he was trying to fight, getting his distance, he wouldn't, and then Lomachenko would come at him, you know, he would just go into his defensive shell and then reset. So it kind of made like Lomachenko like not fearful up until he caught him with that right hand as he was coming in. What Lopez did was, any time that he, you know, Lomachenko would start to set and get ready to advance, you know, go to the body. And even if it didn't land, the threat was still there, and that clearly bothered Lomachenko, the fact that he couldn't get in when he wanted to. So if you saw, Lomachenko was pretty confident that he was going to get in there, but by the end of the rounds, he was probably thinking like, fuck, you know, I couldn't find that angle, and it kept on building and building. And like I said, Lopez just interrupted his flow, and he kept on centering him, keeping Lomachenko in front of him rather than to the side.
Yeah, and you know what? Because of that, we all noticed towards the later rounds, up until the 8th round, he said, fuck it. He started to go into the paint. He was fighting.
And he was very successful. Lomachenko was super successful,
And that's when he was starting to get a rhythm. He started to catch Teofimo Lopez, and those were his best rounds of the fight. But if you're seeing that anything past the 6th, or even past the 5th round in a championship level fight with all the belts on the line to unify that division, as a coach and as an elite class fighter, you will have to think and say, you know what, I gotta change it up. And because of that, he did it. He did change his style in the 8th round, but just like all of us agreed on the group chat when we saw this fight, it was too late, guys. Yeah, too late.
But you know what? Credit also to Lopez for making Lomachenko kind of like hesitant that whole time. You know, because I think Lomachenko was wary of his, actually not just like Teofimo's speed. I think it was his timing. I think that was just really impeccable. Even when he hit Lomachenko with the uppercuts, and if you look at the replay, a lot of the uppercuts and those hooks, a lot of them look like they landed, but Lomachenko blocked some of them. But just that threat, once he got blocked him, he reset rather than stay in the pocket up until the 8th round. After the 8th round, when he started staying in the pocket, and you know, let's credit Lopez where credit is due. Lopez was the reason why Lomachenko started so late. But then around the 9th round, I had Lomachenko winning the 8th round.
Me too.
Then on the 9th round, that's when Lomachenko started like putting it on Lopez, like where he, if you saw, he kind of was like, oh, I have no choice. I have to stay a little closer. So every time now, and then Lopez was in cruise control. So he kind of got like complacent at a certain point. So every time Lopez threw a jab, Lomachenko, instead of like blocking and resetting, he countered over the top.
Mm-hmm.
He would pull in Lopez's jab and then over the top with his own jab.
Yep.
And then that started slowly building into his offense where Lopez became wary. And then once Lopez started getting hits ahead, he kind of didn't know what to do because he was in cruise control that whole fight. And then when he started getting hits ahead, he kind of got, mentally bobbled.
Yep.
And that's why he was getting hit from like the 9th to the 11th round. I had Lomachenko dominating actually those rounds. I'm no 8-10 rounds at all. No, I mean, obviously not. But you saw that it was, while Lopez was winning those first 8 rounds, most of the first 8 rounds with ring generalship, Lomachenko was winning those, 9, 10, and 11 with convincingly with just like punching. And I think a lot of people on the internet kind of they gloss over that I think there was a certain point where Lomachenko just figured out Lopez, but again started too late but at that point I think the reason why he started that time because he had no choice.
Yeah,
like it's not like he was winning some rounds and he was like, I think he felt like, okay, he had most of the early one. I have to do this now.
Desperation kind of kicked in on his part.
Yeah, and to his credit, he found he jabbed over the jab, and then he started once he jabbed over the jab, hit Lopez, it kind of fucked up his rhythm. Lopez would reset, and then he would reset with his foot in between Lomachenko's stance. When the whole fight, Lopez was getting the outside foot constantly. But then once he started getting a counter jab, you saw Lopez kind of retreat towards his right-hand side. And then Lomachenko would kind of enter that zone with his outside foot on the outside. And then he started getting that right straight hand hook over the top, and he started hitting those angles.
Yeah,
that's what I noticed.
This is where you saw the obvious thing where Teofimo's head was bobbling back and forth from those. And
a lot of people don't give Lomachenko credit. They were like, "Oh, Teofimo dominated." I'm like, he dominated the rounds because he used ring generalship and he was outboxing Lomachenko.
That and the judges was.
Oh yeah, those scores were terrible. Yeah, those scores were terrible.
The internet, IG, and the judges will be the ones that we're saying that Teofimo dominated. He won the fight convincingly, but I'm not gonna go ahead and say that he dominated from round 1 to 12.
No.
But now that I mentioned round 12, the 12th round was the decision maker for Teofimo Lopez. Like I said,
I think for us, not for the judges, because the scores are so crazy. Yeah.
But classic 12th round, man, where they exchanged, they were fucking going toe to toe, and you know what, guys? Because of all this and everything we saw, all the drama, all the craziness. I wouldn't be mad to see a second fight, guys.
I want to see a second fight.
I want to see it. Yeah, you know what? Knowing what Lomachenko knows now,
agreed.
Especially the way the fight turned around the 9th round, and the 12th round. Majority of people had it. Oh, that was definitely Lopez, but I actually gave it to Lomachenko because he got hurt. No, there was a point where he got hurt, but if you look at it, there was a point where he kept on landing that straight left hand to the head, and then Lopez kind of had a backup and then kind of counter. And then he hurt Lomachenko, I think, at the 42nd round to the body. And then
he hurt him a couple times that round.
Well, yeah, he went to the body and then he went high and he hurt Lomachenko. But you know what? This goes to show Lomachenko. People say, oh, he's not real 135. He's not, but he showed the heart of a true lightweight.
And credit to his chin.
Yeah.
Because any other fighter in that division, that 135 weight class, with those shots that he was landing, they would have got knocked out.
Oh, especially to the body. That 12th round, he got hit really hard to the body and really hard to the to the head. I think it was like Lomachenko had his guard up and he was moving into Lopez's left hand, and then Lopez led a lead left hand. I think he hurt him, and that's when he got buzzed. But then you saw Lomachenko, he got buzzed. He was a little groggy, just a little bit, very slightly, and then he started going back in. So I gave the round to Lomachenko because I other than the first 30 seconds of that round and the last 30 seconds of the round, I saw Lomachenko winning the in between portions.
Yeah,
that's what I had.
Yeah,
I also thought that because Teofimo was in impeccable shape, it helped him win that fight.
Yeah,
'Cause
you
he
have to
was-
be
he-
in impeccable shape if you're gonna fight the
world
the
class.
best. Yeah, one of the
Yeah.
best.
And
Yeah.
what
He looked
ESPN
like he was-
has him as the pound per pound.
Yeah, ESPN had him as number
Yep.
one, and yeah, and for KG to notice that, that shows like
Yeah, I mean, I watched the fight.
yeah.
You know what I mean? It
But
was a
you
good
can
fight.
tell Lopez was in shape. He looked good.
He had to be in shape in
Yeah.
order to
Loma-
take this away from
Yeah.
Lomachenko.
Lomachenko looked pretty good, despite the fact that he's not like he wasn't as tight as Lopez because he's naturally not a 135er. So he was just like more just like that athletic build.
He-
He reminds me a lot like Chocolatito because
The
Chocolatito
way
wins
he
on
caught it,
volume.
yeah,
He wins on volume,
and-
outboxing you.
And
Same thing.
Yeah, and the way he was moving the ring around, it definitely
Yeah.
compares a lot of comparisons to the Chocolatito.
Chocolatito, yeah. And they don't have that one punch power, but they have that annoying power that when they start stringing combinations, it bothers you. Like it starts hurting you.
And they have that similarity in messing up your game plan.
Mm-hmm.
They're gonna shut it down and they're gonna make you fight their fight.
Yeah, it's like when you get hit, right, with a hard shot, right? Well, you've been hit with a hard shot. That'll mess you up, right?
Yeah.
But the ones that bother you the most is the ones that you get hit with one shot. It doesn't bother you. Then you get hit with another one.
I'll tell you something, guys. What bothers me the most is getting hit to the body. And Teofimo, for the most part, was doing a great job on it.
Yeah. Even when he wasn't landing, he was forcing Lomachenko. You saw Lomachenko would dive like backwards to get out of range, just out of range. And sometimes
Who wouldn't?
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
And I think he respected the body work of Lopez. For you to push Lomachenko that far from a body shot, because we saw Lomachenko when he dodges that type of body shot, that straight right hand down the middle, he'll go backwards and then work back inside. But what Lopez was doing smartly was, as he was trying to, even when he missed with that right hand, he would follow up with the right angle, forcing Lomachenko to keep on moving rather than just bounce back inside. And that was, again, one of Lopez's strategies in that fight that ultimately led him to be very successful and beating Lomachenko.
Yeah, man. It's the takeover. It's the movement that he's setting up. Credit to both fighters. I personally like both of their attitudes. So Teofimo Lopez on his side and his camp, off the back, they called everybody out. They said, you know what? Let's bring boxing to what it was back in the 90s.
Yeah.
How it was back in the days. Let the best fight the best.
And you're absolutely right. And let's credit Teofimo Lopez. He's about it because all the other 135ers are just talk a lot of shit.
Yes. I'm glad that we all agree on this. And to think that a 20-year-old kid that not a lot of people, including myself, would have him winning so at a large margin,
Yeah.
and him being that youngest undisputed lightweight championship of the world, it kind of reminds you of that Mike Tyson era, but obviously that hype is kind of now in the same category now.
Yeah.
But going to Lomachenko's side, credit to him because he wasn't a sore loser at all. If anything, he said, you know what? I'm going to take this L.
And he knew that he started late. He even said I know he won the early rounds.
He was
even though he thought he won.
He was a true gentleman. He said himself, you know what? I just hope that Teofimo Lopez will give me a rematch.
He deserves it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah. I honestly Raul, what do you think how a rematch would go? How would you feel it would go?
Especially after this surgery that he had on his shoulder.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, wasn't that I'm sorry to cut you off. Wasn't
sorry.
there like a little
shoulder issue?
like a source said that he was injured?
Yeah.
That's why he was slow to start.
Well, no. Well, look.
Supposedly.
No. He didn't bring this up as an excuse. For the most part that I've been reading, I've been seeing, he's not making this an excuse, guys.
Okay.
I think
I
the
thought it
news was
was.
broke by his manager, I believe. His
Yeah.
manager broke
He just, as of late this week, he went into the doctors. He's undergoing surgery on his shoulder. But if you're gonna fight somebody as Teofimo Lopez at the age of 23, get your 100% health, be at a world-class elite status to fight him at a rematch. And this is what I want from Lomachenko because we all know what he brings to the table. So come back 100%.
How would you feel a rematch would go? Like what do you think would happen?
You know what? If he could take his punches like we saw in the later rounds, and if he has success in the inside, stick to that game plan. Don't start out too late. And I'm pretty sure I'm pretty sure he's beating himself up. As we speak right now, he's probably telling himself, fuck, why didn't I start that fight early?
You know what kind of reminded me of that? The first fight kind of reminded me of that first Bernard Hopkins versus Jermaine Taylor fight.
Oh,
where like Hopkins just started. He started way too late, but I think he started in the 7th round as opposed to Lomachenko, who really started warming up. Like even though I thought he won the 8th round, he didn't warm up until the 9th round, and it was like kind of like that. And then the young upstart Jermaine Taylor beat Hopkins, and he was the undisputed middleweight champion. And then that's kind of like similar instance that this happened. So I would say in a rematch, you will see actually a much closer fight. And I would have Lomachenko winning either a majority or a split decision in a rematch. Now, has there been definite talks about the rematch? Yeah, there are whispers, but I think Lopez's team kind of wants to fight the other the other lightweights, and then move up to 140. Yeah. But hey, the numbers look good. The media tracking looked great for the fight. You saw the Twitter was all up on the fight. You know, hey, maybe this kind of like has a push start for mainstream boxing events on free television, and then. If the numbers all look good for all parties involved, why not make a rematch? I would say if I'm Lopez, he won clearly. I had it 6-6 when I first saw the fight, and then I rewatched it, and I was like, you know what? If I'm gonna align myself to what everyone saw, I definitely see 7-5 for Lopez. So, listen, ratings were great, the media tracking was great. Let's make a rematch, and then Lopez for the opportunity to be like, this is going to be like his moment, like Jermaine Taylor. Like, I didn't beat Bernard Hopkins, the man at middleweight, once, but I beat him twice. And I proved that I did, right? This could be his opportunity. As for Lomachenko, this could be his opportunity. Look, I figured something out after the 8th round. I just gotta impose that earlier. That's it. I already know how this guy fights. Let's go. So there's incentive in terms of strategy and prestige for both parties involved to get it going. Me personally, like I said, I would have Lomachenko winning a split or majority decision.
Yeah, we've seen this in the past. For example, to give you a good example, top of my head, look at Leo Santa Cruz, which he does have a fight coming up.
Yeah,
but
he lost to Frampton.
The first fight around.
Yeah, and that was close. Close. I think that was the right decision, but it was close.
And he was fighting in the inside.
Yeah.
He was more fighting a style of Carl Frampton. Yeah. Second fight around, he was still fighting at a full velocity, but he was using at a distance.
Yeah, using his jab a lot more effectively.
His length, and setting up that way.
He definitely won the second fight more convincingly than Frampton won the first fight.
Yeah. We've seen this in the past. And that right there, that fight with Leo Santa Cruz is one out of many scenarios similar to this.
Yeah.
But viewership, ratings, everything was skyrocketed. It was one of the best ratings for Top Rank for ESPN, free, like we all were happy about. Bob Arum at Top Rank.
They seem receptive to the idea of a non-pay-per-view model.
And that makes them awesome. That makes them great. Yeah. But if I was Bob Arum, especially with business, that second rematch, if it's pay-per-view, you know how much money they will gain.
That's
and
true.
People want to see.
That is true. Maybe it sets up. I wouldn't like it as a boxing
fan. Me neither,
but I mean, that would be, you put the first, if you think it's going to be close, you put and it's going to be a big close fight, you put the first fight in free TV, and then you put the rematch on pay-per-view.
Isn't that smart?
Yeah. Because people now, like people who are casuals, just will invest in it because it's free.
They're invested.
And then when they get invested, they're like, oh yeah, that was a close fight. Yeah. And the rematch is but it's not free. It's on pay-per-view. Fuck
it.
You know what? The first one was good. Fuck it. I'll watch it again.
Yeah. Thanks. You said it best, Kyle.
Marketing genius.
People will want to go and see the fight.
Yeah. So I mean, there you go. This could maybe be a amount. As long as there's more free fights,
I'll pay pay-per-view money for the second fight.
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't want to do it if it's free, but if it's pay-per-view, fuck it.
You can't miss that fight as a fan of boxing.
So, Raul, if the immediate rematch doesn't happen, what would you like to see Lopez do, and what would you like to see Lomachenko do?
Okay. So, Teofimo Lopez, he would have to wait and watch the winner of the Gervonta Davis and Leo Santa Cruz. I think winner of that fight could be up there in discussion to potentially have a fight with Theo. Another one could possibly be David Haney, which that was one of the names that he dropped in the post interviews. I'm not gonna go ahead and say the winner between Luke Campbell and Ryan Garcia, because there's better options for Teofimo Lopez.
Yeah, definitely.
And if Teofimo Lopez doesn't obviously want the rematch and doesn't feel confident in money-wise and winning any of these fights, 140 could be his ticket up, and with great fights.
Well, now that's a great point that I should bring up. So we have a undisputed
Fight.
unification fight between Jose Ramirez and Josh Taylor. That we've been waiting for that. We've talked about it before. We've been waiting for it. Hopefully, it happens at the beginning of next year. I say if I'm Teofimo Lopez and the immediate rematch doesn't happen, I take a warm-up fight at 140. Maybe take on, who would be a perfect opponent, especially if he stays concentrated.
Victor Postol.
Postol would be a perfect opponent. He doesn't have knockout power.
He's a solid
He's older.
guy.
He's a solid guy. He's a solid name. So you take a warm-up fight against against an aging vet with a name, with a designated name. Yeah. Then you set up the fight. Undisputed lightweight champion moves up to fight the undisputed junior welterweight champion. Undisputed champion versus undisputed champion. Boom.
That's a
automatic.
super fight.
It's gonna be a super
Pay-per-view.
fight. Yeah.
Big money numbers.
And Lopez's skill is underrated, as he showed me.
Yeah.
I say he beats Jose Ramirez. Josh Taylor. Now that's a different story. I think Josh Taylor has the right amount of length and the right amount of boxing skill, and he's a lefty to give Teofimo Lopez problems, because Teofimo imposed his size primarily on Lomachenko. But what happens if you fight a bigger guy who's a lefty? But he may not be as skilled as Lomachenko. But he likes to bang. Taylor likes to bang for a tall, like
We've
a
seen
tall,
this in
long
the
guy.
past.
Yeah, he likes to bang. And he beat Regis Prograis, who was pretty fast himself.
Yeah, look at each other's faces after the fight.
Yeah,
it shows you the effects of both of them going at it all 12 rounds.
Yeah.
But Teofimo Lopez, he's a big 135-pounder fighter. So him at 140, I don't see any difficulties in him.
No, not
I don't necessarily say he will have flaws at that division. Yeah. If anything, I think
Josh Taylor gives him serious problems. But
maybe
at the same time,
look, we said this about Lomachenko, and we all know how Lomachenko is a dangerous fighter. Not even a fighter, a boxer with his skills.
Yeah.
And he fought him very perfect, comfortable fight. With Josh Taylor, I don't know. I'm not going to go ahead and say that.
Well, listen, Taylor can bang, and he's been hit, and he seems to have a solid chin. The guy from Scotland is a good boxer. He's a really good boxer. I'm not going to put him at pound for pound list yet. Maybe after his fight against Jose Ramirez. Whoever wins gets probably the top 5
automatically
spot.
Yep.
Probably say or a top 7 spot at least.
I agree.
I think Taylor's going to take that fight. I think he's going to beat Jose Ramirez, especially seeing Jose Ramirez's struggles against a tall fighter with the range. But yeah, that would be a great undisputed champion versus undisputed champion.
I got Jose Ramirez, but to continue what you were saying with that comment, yes, I agreed. Whoever wins that fight will have a top 10 position in the pound for pound rating list. And who knows? I would be super interested to see Teofimo Lopez face the winner of that fight.
Yeah, that'd be. It would be also interesting if they put that stipulation that it's stupid as hell, but they put the same stipulation with the Leo versus Gervonta Davis. Like if Davis weighs over 130, it's for Davis's, I think, regular 135 title, and then if he weighs in under 130, then it's for the 130 belt. It's like a dual. It's it makes no sense. It's stupid. But imagine if they put that Like whoever, like, you know, depending on the
That's
weight who comes
dumb.
in, it's dumb.
That's
But that'd
dumb.
be interesting because then you'd be like one undisputed title is on the line or the other undisputed
That's
title.
dumb.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it would be interesting to see, especially I like a Taylor versus Teofimo Lopez fight would be my favorite. I think Teofimo beats Ramirez because Ramirez just I think that he has problem with guys who are smart boxers, you know.
Yeah.
You know, but we'll see. We see how it goes because you know we saw Ramirez like basically take it to Maurice Hooker, you know, and he kind of like just threw out the strategy. It was like, let's bang. And, you know, maybe Lopez gets drawn into a fucking dogfight. Who knows? But imagine that him and Ramirez.
And he's about it.
Him and Ramirez in a dogfight.
They're both about it.
Yeah. And then Ramirez, remember, he's a 140 fighter, so he can actually take those shots that Teofimo Lopez will throw. And so maybe it gets into a dogfight and someone gets
They're
knocked
both
out
bangers.
by
They will definitely give the fans a heck of a fight.
That'd be exciting, right?
Hell yeah.
And listen, tonight there's also fights tonight as well.
Oh, yeah.
We have two former flyweight champions. One a former flyweight champion and former pound for pound champion, Chocolatito.
Mm-hmm.
He's fighting Israel Gonzalez in what I'm assuming is a warm up fight with the winner of the preceding fight on the same card. We have
Cuadras.
Juan Francisco Estrada, who's on most people's pound for pound top tens, versus Carlos Cuadras, a guy who's always tough. He's given Chocolatito issues in their fight before. A tough veteran. And a good test for Juan Francisco Estrada. I don't know if they fought before or not because that whole like flyweight division, they all seem to like fight each other. A bunch of them like fought each other. Like, you know, Estrada won the belt from Sorong Visay. I think lost to Carlos Cuadras, I think, before, and then beat Chocolatito and when they were fighting twice. And it's good actually that they're all fighting each other. So we're gonna have that. You know, it seems like the winner's gonna move on and fight each other for Juan Francisco Estrada's belt. Didn't Estrada also fight Chocolatito before? I think he lost. I think Juan Francisco Estrada fought Chocolatito. I know all of them fought each other. That's a crazy thing. Like,
and you know what? They're all dogs.
Yeah.
When it comes down to the philosophy of boxing, these guys will bring in exactly just that. They're just natural good boxers. Their backgrounds, let alone, speak for itself.
Mm-hmm.
You know, Cuadras being an ex-Olympian Mexican boxer. Estrada, him being how many amateur fights he has?
I know.
Chocolatito dominating that flyweight division for the longest until he lost. But even then, he had a rebound. He kind of has now going is a rebound career.
Yeah. Oh, just to bring it up, yeah, he did actually fight Chocolatito in 2012. He lost that fight. But if you look at the names on his
resume, right?
He beat Brian Valoria right after that. He beat I think a former pound for pound on the pound for pound Giovanni Segura. I think he was also he beat him he knocked him out in the 11th. And then he beat Carlos Cuadras. So this is a rematch, actually. The Cuadras versus Estrada. They fought in 2017. Then he lost against Sorong Visay in that close majority decision loss. And then he won. He fought him in the rematch and beat him for the basically the lineal title. So, you know, I mean, they all fought each other, and that's great. So, you know, the Chocolatito versus Estrada, I mean, ideally, I think that's what they're trying to set up. But, you know, I don't know much about Israel Gonzalez. We're going to find out about that tonight.
Same.
But, you know, Cuadras or Estrada, you know, and then, against Chocolatito, oh, that would be great. And, you know, Chocolatito, since that knockout by Sorong Visay, he kind of pulled a Manny Pacquiao. He's like, oh, you know, I got knocked out. It happens. I'm still here. I can still bang with everybody.
And you know what? I'm reminiscing right now. It just gave me a flashback. I think that Chocolatito Cuadras fight was on the undercard of Triple G and Lemieux at the Garden, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, wow. That was a close fight, the Cuadras versus Chocolatito fight.
And I was there with my pops. And it's just coming back to me when you were just talking to me about all those fights in his record. But, yeah, that was a dog fight. That was a great fight, even though, if I'm remembering correctly, Chocolatito knocking out Cuadras a couple of times, but Cuadras, him being a vintage.
Yeah, he was giving it to Chocolatito
yeah.
too. Yeah, he was giving it at certain points.
Experience, vintage Mexican style.
And there was like certain points where he was kind of like outboxing Chocolatito, and like Chocolatito is like a right-handed Lomachenko. He throws in volume, always like has footwork is always right. He always he always throws the right punch. So that was a really good fight. I remember it was actually it was in the Forum in California, September 10th, 2016. So that was 4 years ago now. It was but it'd be interesting to see. I would like to see Chocolatito fight for the flyweight championship again. And then, hopefully they fight. And then the winner of that, maybe Chocolatito tries to fight Sarang VASYL a third time. That'd be if he gets his confidence back, if he beats Estrada or Cuadras for the title, why not make a title fight with Sarang VASYL for the third time and kind of get your redemption,
A win against that, his confidence will definitely boost up.
Yeah. And it doesn't seem like Chocolatito is the type of guy, kind of like Manny Pacquiao. If they get knocked out, it doesn't bother them. They're just like, this is boxing. Some guys, their psyche goes completely out the window once they get knocked out. Like, they're never the same fighter.
Mm-hmm.
So, but Roman Gonzalez, he looks like he's kind of like rebuilding himself. And he's like, it happens. It's fine.
Yeah, shout out to all the Nicaraguan people, because when he's in the building, in the arena, they come out to watch.
Yeah. Yeah, when he fights, nothing gets done in California. All those Nicaraguans in California.
Surprisingly, even at the Garden, I remember, again, I forgot which fight Chocolatito was fighting, but walking through that arena at the what's the MSG slogan?
World's Arena?
The World Arena, something like that. But either way, guys, walking around that arena, so many Nicaraguans with their blue and white flags. Mm-hmm. Hey, man, it just goes to show that Central Americans, even to Teofimo Lopez,
who's
Honduran,
the first Honduran,
and shout out to Brooklyn. Us being from
Brooklyn,
Queens and New York.
Yeah, you gotta your respect.
Shout out to Brooklyn. It's good to see all these Central American fighters on the rise and have been for the past, and not only just Mexicans. as most casual fans would say, they're Mexicans. Mexicans are always winning.
Yeah.
No. Hey, we had Costa Ricanos.
Yeah, it kind of brings back
Kenyos.
Like that time in the 80s
Panama.
where like Duran. Mm-hmm. Duran was big. What's his name? The guy from I think it was from El Salvador. Hold on a second. Let me double check. But he fought Aaron Pryor in the 80s twice. Arguello.
Oh,
Alexis Arguello.
Yeah, Alexis Arguello. Yeah.
And he was beloved by everybody in boxing.
Mm-hmm. And this is what we want to see. Boxing.
Oh no, he's from Nicaragua as well. I'm sorry about that. He's also from Nicaragua. Arguello. I forgot. Yeah, because I think they him and Chocolatito were friends before he died. I think or something like that. Yeah.
Oh man.
So this just goes to show boxing is a universal language, man.
Yeah, man. That's the greatest thing. Sure. Like you can find a gem. Like imagine the. I was listening to the a podcast with Charlemagne the God, and I think it was some other guy, and they were talking about like Manny Pacquiao and like how he became a superstar, and they're like, what are the chances of somebody like that coming from like a slum in the Philippines, selling like cigarettes and treats on the street, just becoming a boxer, and then unearthing that talent, unearthing that talent out of nowhere and becoming one of the biggest boxers of all time.
Becoming a superstar.
Yeah. Or you have Duran, someone from Panama who's like, that comes out of nowhere and starts winning the Olympics and winning all these championships. Arguello, like you can find a good boxer in almost anywhere. Look at Ruslan Provannikov. He's from Siberia, like in the boonies in Russia, and then he became the 140 champion.
It's fairy tales, man.
Yeah, man. That's the amazing thing what boxing can do. Like there's champion. You can find a champion anywhere, and that's kind of like what boxing trainers kind of hope. Yeah. They hope like the next Manny Pacquiao comes in their gym, or they hope that the next Costa Ju comes in. you want like just some random guy, like kind of like how Manny Pacquiao met Freddie Roach. He just walked into the gym randomly.
And where's Theo from?
Dale's from Brooklyn. His family's from Honduras. He's trained by his dad. So even that, like we don't know that many Hondurans that are into boxing like that.
No.
And then he happens to be from Brooklyn and becomes the undisputed champion from Brooklyn. A kid from Brooklyn.
Any Ecuadorian fighters?
Off the top of my head, the only one I can think of is this guy. His name was Eric Bone. Eric Bone, he's from Ecuador, but I think that was the last like Ecuadorian to make some waves.
From South America, guys. The only off my back.
Edison Miranda's from Colombia.
Yeah, it's South Americans. What we usually see is
the boxers
Argentina, Brazil, Colombia.
Venezuela. There's a lot of good Venezuelan boxers.
Plenty.
Nice. The late
the
guy who killed his wife.
Yeah, that gangster.
What was his name?
Who was that?
Man, wow,
I'm
forgetting everything today. Yeah, hold on. But yeah, he murdered his wife. I remember he murdered his wife. And he killed himself in jail.
He was coming up to set up a potential fight with Manny Pacquiao at that time.
Yeah, they were kind of like angling that. Mm-hmm. Yeah, because he was a lightweight and Manny Pacquiao was just became a star, and they wanted to.
He was a gangster, man. In that ring, he would just come in and just slug it out.
Oh yeah.
He was in prison too. He just had a bad rap, man.
Yeah, but also he was a piece of shit for murdering his wife.
Edwin
Valero, that's his name. Linares is also from Venezuela. You can find a champion anywhere, bro. If you can find a Manny Pacquiao, you can find a Ruslan Provanikov, or even African fighters. A lot of from Ivory Coast, Cameroon. The majority of the time we think of African fighters, most of them are from Ghana, and they end up coming to the Bronx and training because there's that famous
John's boxing gym.
Yeah, where all the Ghanaian fighters go to. Because I noticed a lot, Claudio trained there.
John's boxing gym.
Joseph Adbeko.
Shout out to John's boxing gym.
Shout out to you.
Yeah, you trained there one time, right?
I went there once, and shout out to Matt and Benny. They go and train there on the weekends. They took me there.
Shout out to you guys.
Shout out to them. John's boxing gym.
My God, Matt.
Old school boxing gym as it could get. If you wanna experience that old school, that dog and vintage and fighting in a gym like that, which is there's not many. All the boxing gym now are very modern, very image to a studio fashion look.
Yeah,
this is not it.
No.
This is straight up legit boxing 101.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, including to what you were saying.
Yeah, but I think that's the beauty in boxing. Like I said, met plenty of times already.
Beautiful.
You can find a champion anywhere in the world.
And just to finish off and give you guys a few details about this, in my opinion, if Hollywood would want a great idea to spark up a big budget movie, I would say just look into boxing stories.
Yeah, I mean, look, Rocky. Yeah. Rocky's a made-up story, and look how big he became during that time.
Look at any of these fighters' bios, their background, their come up, and there you go. You have a potential Hollywood film.
That's amazing, bro.
It's crazy. So let's get into the NFL news, guys. We had another great week of NFL games. I mean, I certainly feel good as a Dolphins fan. I don't know about Raul, unfortunately. And Raul right now is trying to ignore me now because he's like, man, fuck you.
I think this is the perfect time for me to go take a piss. So continue on, guys.
Oh, man. But let's cover what happened last week, guys. So let's cover our first game of the week. Texans versus Titans on Sunday. 42-36. Tennessee beats the Texans. It was actually a really good match. Ryan Tannehill doing again. Ryan Tannehill things. 366 and 4 touchdowns. Derrick Henry had over 200 yards rushing and 2 touchdowns. Houston was no joke either. Deshaun Watson went off. Will Fuller went off for 6 receptions, 123 yards and 1 touchdown. Listen, Tannehill, he's right there in the MVP conversation. I'm not gonna say that he's a fringe contender. I would say he's right there.
No.
If you look at his stats, he has better stats than Patrick Mahomes this year.
No,
but not.
But
better
is that
than
gonna
Russell
is that gonna get him a high possibility that he's gonna win MVP? No.
I won't say it's
He
the highest
could.
possibility that he can win MVP, but
That's
the
possible.
Titans are 5-0, and yeah, they rely on their running game, but Ryan Tannehill is pretty much like been everything they need him to be.
No, yeah, yeah,
So
of course.
I
of
think
course.
I think we think of Ryan Tannehill from the Dolphins, and if me watching Ryan Tannehill now as opposed to when he was on the Dolphins,
Oh, of
the Dolphins,
course,
it's like night and
huge.
day, bro. And maybe that's what happens
Huge
when you get away
difference.
from Adam Gase,
Fuck.
right?
But Derrick Henry, I think one of his viral move was him
Oh,
stiff
God.
farming the defender that was coming in to tackle him, but it just goes to show the monster.
Yeah,
of a
that was
beast
last
he is.
week. That was I think last week.
Yeah, but
212 yards. Wow.
Yeah.
yeah, but it just goes to show you how beast of a running back this guy is.
Absolutely.
Wow.
Also, we had the Colts beating the Bengals 31-27 in Indianapolis. Phillip Rivers had a great game. You know, he's been up and down this season, but he went for 371 yards and 3 touchdowns. T. Higgins on Cincinnati went for 6 receptions, 125 yards. It looked like Joe Burrow kind of bounced back from that awful performance against Baltimore, but, you know, they still lost. So they're 1-4-1. Hey, you know, what are we going to see from Joe Burrow from the rest of the year? Like, we saw him get dominated by Baltimore. So what do you think? You think he continues his campaign for Rookie of the Year, or do you think that belongs to somebody else? Because Justin Herbert is playing very well.
I mean, personally, I have Justin Herbert winning that
Ahead
Rookie
of
of
Joe
the Year
Burrow?
for sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, but credit to Joe Burrow. He's doing all he can in these games. Besides last week, that one horrible game, I mean, besides that one game, he's been having pretty good numbers, pretty good results.
I mean, he didn't throw any touchdowns and he had to do an interception, but 300 yards from a rookie, especially.
Pretty positive season
Yeah.
he started.
Now, do you think Indianapolis makes the playoffs? They're at 4-2 right now, 3-0 at home. You know, it's like they're a fringe contender, I feel. What about you guys?
Same. I mean, you know, only time will tell, depending on who's in their division and
Yeah, I
who
mean,
ends up, you know, being in
I mean,
the matchup for them.
we seen Phillip Rivers before in the Chargers, and pretty similarities with the Colts, where he's giving results, he's winning games, but towards the end of the season, it just starts to fall down.
He's not
Yeah.
clutch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I expect the same.
Yeah.
He's not clutch.
We also had the Vikings losing
Ooh.
in Minnesota against a Falcons team who apparently knows how to
Finally.
win with a lead in the fourth quarter finally.
Finally.
Matt Ryan had a great game, 371 yards and 4 touchdowns. Justin Jefferson, again, went off from Minnesota. I think he had a similar game earlier this season. 9 receptions, 166 yards, 2 touchdowns. My
Wow.
question to you is, between these 1 and 5 teams, who is most likely going to set themselves up better next year? Because the Vikings are a playoff team that is playing like shit right now, and the Falcons already fired Dan Quinn. They are also in the shitter right now. Who do you think is set up next year for a better playoff run? Or do you think they both kind of go back to the picture? I mean, well, Falcons are definitely going to go back to the drawing board. Do you think the Vikings joins them?
Falcons definitely need to go through that rebuilding mode.
Yeah.
They got an aging quarterback.
I think the Minnesota's team kind of is right past their prime right now because now everyone's injured. They didn't sign a couple. I think Daniel Hunter they didn't sign, and it's kind of like this feels like the end of their window a little bit. So, and Kirk Cousins, you know, as look at this performance. Tell me not this is the Kirk Cousins performance. 343 yards, 3 touchdowns, 3 interceptions.
Wow.
The only thing is that sacks. He only got sacked once. So there you go. In our next game, we had the Broncos versus the Patriots. Broncos, you know, surprisingly dominated the Patriots 18-12 in Foxborough. Cam Newton didn't play well. 157 yards, 2 interceptions. Drew Lock also didn't play well. 189 yards, 2 interceptions as well. And he also threw for 10 for 24, which is awful. All right, well, Denver's 2-3. New England is 2-3. Who is most likely going to make the playoffs amongst these two?
If the Denver team is healthy and their players could come back from injuries, then I would say Denver, but I don't see New England being in that playoff position.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Our next game, we have the Giants versus Washington. They won in a really close game, 20-19 in the Meadowlands. Kyle Allen played okay. And I think it's his second game now, right? Was this his first game or second game? I think this is his first game since replacing Dwayne Haskins, or second game. I'm not sure. Daniel Jones surprisingly led the Giants with 7 carries for 74 yards, most of them on one particular carry that we're going to discuss a little bit later. Right, Raul?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. We could discuss it now.
No, we'll save it. Save it. But, okay, between these now 2 1-5 teams, who's most likely going to have their drafted quarterback back next year? Do you think it's going to be Dwayne Haskins coming back for Washington or Daniel Jones coming back for the Giants? I think it's easy to say Daniel Jones, but he has not played well this year. So what do you think?
I mean, Daniel Jones, he has very limited weapons, man. And they're rebuilt in their offseason with the offensive line. It only improved, but not by much.
Yeah, but even when he gets the time, it seems like he doesn't have that internal clock in his head. He's pretty talented.
He's talented. I like the way he plays when everybody's on board, and everybody's playing well. But it just goes to show you, similar to the Jets, when you have injuries, you have certain things not going your way, it just happens.
The Giants are a pretty depleted team. They have been for a couple of years now. So
yeah. In our next game, we have the Baltimore Ravens, also in a close game, surprising close game, 30-28 against Philly in Philly. Carson Wentz didn't start the game well, but seems to end games pretty well despite the losing effort. He went 213 yards and 2 touchdowns. Lamar Jackson, the passing numbers aren't all that impressive, but good God, 9 carries for 108 yards and a touchdown. And he threw for a touchdown as well, but he threw for under 200 yards. It goes to show you, Lamar Jackson can throw for 150 yards and still torch you at the end of the day. So there it goes. Baltimore is 5-1. Philly is 1-4-1. My question to you is: do you think Doug Peterson, the head coach of the Eagles, do you think he makes it out this year, despite being a Super Bowl winner a couple years ago?
I think they're gonna keep him around, guys.
No, yeah. The Eagles right now, they're just 1-4, just depending on the record. As of right now, that's all. That's how much it depends on. But I have a question for you guys, right?
Okay.
Who do you think is better? At their prime, do you think Lamar Jackson's better or Michael Vick?
Oh, I think that
I was watching the documentary.
Yeah, the game
has
changed a lot. The game has changed a lot in the last 18 to 15 years that Michael Vick was in his prime. I think Lamar Jackson is a more talented version of Michael Vick, especially as a passer. I think Vick just relied way too much on his speed. And at that time in the league, passing numbers and the defenses weren't as significantly high as they are now because of just that it was a different style of play. And I think that Michael Vick kind of experienced that era where they started getting softer in coverage in terms of how much you can touch receivers. Because after the Patriots and Indianapolis Colts, when the Patriots manhandled them, I think in the 2003 playoffs, they started changing the rules. So I think better in their prime. You can say Lamar Jackson definitely better in his prime, but no one electrified the league like Michael Vick. So at that time, but Lamar Jackson's on his way if he keep him playing well. We have our next game. Katie's not going to be too happy about this. We have the Steelers destroying the Browns 38-7 in Pittsburgh.
It was a very ugly game to watch.
Baker got benched. Even Roethlisberger didn't play all that well. He only had 162 yards and a touchdown. And yet they won 38-7. They won by 31 points. James Conner went over 100 yards, and he got a touchdown. Benny Snell got a touchdown. Chase Claypool also had a touchdown. Receiver who ran it in. Claypool seems to be balling,
impressive.
yo. He's balling. And as for Cleveland, Cleveland, they were 4-1, and then they shit the rug on this performance. I guess it goes to show you. Now, my question to you is: Pittsburgh is 5-0. We know they're going to be fine, but do you think Baker Mayfield is the reason that the Cleveland Browns are being held back from being a better team?
If you look at the stats and you see the targets for receivers, Odell only had 3 targets. Landry only had 5 targets. He's just not spreading the ball well enough.
I think he's spreading the ball. I think he's just not throwing to his star receivers more, you know?
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah, you know, like, look, there was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 receivers. But 3 of them only had 1 catch. Austin Hooper led the Browns in receiving. But
that shouldn't be happening.
Austin Hooper should not be your leading receiver in a game if you have Jarvis Landry and Odell Beckham, 2 arguably of the best wide receivers in the league here, you know?
And because of that, didn't we see Odell Beckham even with minutes in the fourth quarter without his shoes and just throwing the tampered?
Well, you know what? I mean, listen, I also think sometimes he gets a bad rap for being too emotional, and then sometimes I think, no, he's just an idiot. It's like sometimes you're like, oh, maybe he doesn't deserve all this criticism, and then you're like, oh yeah, he does.
Yeah. I mean, look, guys, it's good to be emotional because it's part of the game. It actually kind of fuels you in a way.
Yeah, but you can't act like a bitch either.
Yeah, but it's one thing to be emotional, and then it's another thing to be like a crybaby, you know?
Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah, definitely.
Don't cry about the results.
Stop crying, brother.
Yeah, KJ, what do you have to say about that?
It's tough. It's tough for me to say, you know, honestly, because I am a fan of Odell. But man, they just gotta give him the ball more. He's a playmaker, and he shows that he can definitely make plays and win the game. Win games for the team, so they just got to do that.
In our next game, we had the Chicago Bears beating the Carolina Panthers in Carolina, 23-16. Teddy Bridgewater, he seemed to be on the upswing. Didn't do so well in this game. 216 yards, 2 interceptions. But it seemed that the Chicago Bears, despite the up and down play of Nick Foles, they're 5-1 right now. And I think if you tell any casual fan, like, oh yeah, the Chicago Bears are 5-1, if they have some semblance of football knowledge, that would be surprising for most people. I'm almost surprised actually seeing that. There is, some type of, Chicago has their defense is their strength. They seem to have, some back and forth between, should we stick with Nick Foles? Should we go back to Mitchell? Because clearly quarterback is the weak point of this team, Do you think, I asked this question before, but I'm going to ask it in a little more, a different way. Who will have a better chance leading this team to a Super Bowl? Nick Foles or Mitchell Trubisky? Because I think Nick Foles. Yeah, he's not playing. He's playing up and down, but when he's on fire, if you can get him on a streak, like, listen, just get him to the playoffs. Because if he gets on a streak, he can ball out.
He's a Super Bowl champion.
Yeah, he did it before. He did it twice technically with the Eagles. They just lost that in the season after their Super Bowl win. So it's possible. It is possible. But we'll see where things go. In our next game, we have the Lions beating the listless Jacksonville Jaguars 34-16 in Jacksonville. Detroit is 2-3. Jacksonville is 1-5. This is just one of those games that no one was interested in because everyone knows how bad Detroit is and how Jacksonville is as well. But Jacksonville is at least, I guess in the middle of a rebuild, despite my man crush on Gardner Minshew. As for the Detroit Lions, what is the likelihood they can actually turn this season around? They've had a lot of turmoil with their head coach, a lot of people calling for his name to be fired. They're only 1 win away from 500, and they're in the same division as the Vikings, who are 1-5, and the Packers, who are currently a 1-loss team. So my question is, if Detroit ends the season at 500, do you think that Matt Patricia gets fired?
Yeah.
Okay, I agree too. What about you, Gidja?
Yeah, I agree.
All right,
can't disagree with that.
Yeah. Our next game, we also had the Buccaneers shockingly taking on the Packers.
Let's go, Tom.
38-10. They spotted. I think they gave up 10 points to the. They spotted the Packers 10 points, and the Packers with Aaron Rodgers didn't score the rest of the game. Meanwhile, Tom Brady, okay game, 166 and 2 touchdowns. Ronald Jones had over 100 yards receiving and 2 touchdowns. The Buccaneers are for real. There was a little point where I think we're all kind of like, oh, Tom Brady's kind of fighting his footing. But I think at the end of the day, as long as the win is there, it's worth having Tom there. So it's interesting to see where these two teams go, especially in the NFC. Do you think they make it to? Do you think they face each other in the playoffs?
They could. They could potentially.
Definitely a high possibility.
Yeah, and Tampa. One thing that I did see in that game was their defense really came through clutch early on in the first half. They were just stopping Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, they outscored the Packers 38-0 after those first 10 points in the first quarter, and they blanked the Packers the rest of the game, and they scored 35 points of their
Yeah,
own.
definitely a learning lesson for Aaron Rodgers and for the Packers. I think next time around when they face each other, if they do,
Yeah,
they're not definitely gonna play that same way.
definitely. And we have the San Francisco beating the Rams at home. San Francisco, they got bodied by my beautiful Miami team. They got bodied by Miami.
You can say that this year.
They got bodied by Miami, and then everyone is kind of like writing this team off, at 2-3, and then all of a sudden they beat the Rams 24-16, and you could say at certain points they dominated this particular match. So now San Francisco's 3-3. Jimmy Garoppolo had a great game. They're 268 and 3 touchdowns, no interceptions. After that 2 interception disaster against Miami, Mostert is back. I think he got injured and then came back, but they're running the ball decently. Kittle, hey, finally getting going. 7 receptions, 109 yards, and a touchdown. The Rams are 4-2. San Francisco's 3-3. Does San Francisco make the playoffs? I think we answered this question before, and we said yeah. But then we saw that game against Miami, and then Jimmy Garoppolo injured. They don't have Nick Bosa for the rest of the year, and they don't have Solomon Thomas for the rest of the year. Are they a playoff team, do you think? I think they might be a fringe team at this point. Yeah.
No.
What about you, KJ?
Yeah, I don't like San Francisco in the playoffs this year. I don't like their chances.
Well, I mean, listen, their defense is what got them to the Super Bowl, and Nick Bosa was a big part of that.
Huge.
And without Nick Bosa, I think if they're lucky, they can make it to the playoffs. But
Exactly.
LA also seems to be, ever since their Super Bowl appearance, seems to be up and down too. So it's going to be interesting as always with the NFL. On Monday night, we had that surprise doubleheader. We had the Chiefs beating the Bills 26-17. We thought that it was going to be a really close game, and I guess you could say by the score it was. But I think clearly, Kansas City had this game in check, and now the Bills on a 2-game slide after starting the season 4-0.
Yeah, red hot.
They're starting to show their cracks in their armor. We know the Chiefs are going to be fine. Do you think the Bills can
bounce back?
I think they can. But
I think so too.
Are they now considered like AFC favorites? Despite they got bodied by the Ravens, and they got bodied by Kansas City.
I mean, their division is pretty weak, to be honest, man.
That's
when
true.
You have New England and the Dolphins, and of course, they're just and they're not even in conversation. But we could agree that the Bills are still gonna win that division.
Okay. We're gonna get to that. We're gonna get to that. Good point, because we'll get to the Bills situation.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
But the Bills, besides that conversation,
Yeah.
their division is pretty weak.
It is
They're
weak.
gonna win.
But then now are they AFC favorites? That's the question now. That's tough.
Nah.
We also had the Cardinals body the Cowboys 38-10 in Dallas. We know what happened, unfortunately, to Dak Prescott. He's lost for the year with that broken leg. They turned to Andy Dalton. They let him throw 54 times.
Wow.
For 266 yards and 1 touchdown. That's not the type of
wasn't a
output
good
you're looking
idea.
for if you're throwing over 50 times. Kenyon Drake went off for 164 yards and 2 touchdowns despite having a sleepy season so far. The Cowboys are 2-4. Do you think they offer Dak that contract now? Do you think they're just going to go for a full rebuild without Dak? Or do you think, because right now they're 2-4, they're not playing well whatsoever. I think their differential is terrible right now.
You could tell in loyal Cowboys their reaction, and all those viral videos that you've been seeing online where they've been smashing their TVs.
Yeah, it's like they were when it was with Jason Garrett, they were like, "Oh, this is more of the same." But now that you have a new coach, Dak, despite the bad defense, historically bad defense, Dak was balling. Was balling with yards and all that stuff. And now he's injured, out for the year. You don't know if he's going to be 100%. When he comes back.
You're starting to see that faith in these Cowboys fans. It's gone.
Because they're realizing maybe our team isn't as good as they were like the years before, because they felt like Jason Garrett was holding them back.
They're seeing their ship slowly just sink.
Yeah.
But
do you think they favor a rebuild without Dak?
You know what, man? This, as we all know, in sports, organizations and teams, it's all a business, man.
Yeah.
And business could be cruel.
It can be.
And I don't like to say this, but I think that they might go ahead and pull that trigger and just rebuild without
Dak. Because then, I mean, don't get me wrong, that Dak is a great player.
great,
But
great.
if you're planning to blow this up, like, do you need a Dak Prescott? I mean, he's not a Patrick Mahomes. Like, yeah, he has talent, but how much talent? That's the always question has been. He has talent, but what kind of money justifies his talent? You know,
True.
I think that's the trouble that the Cowboys have been having. And now, if they don't play well this year, if they're like, if they bomb out of this regular season, then maybe they'll start a rebuild without Dak. You don't know that because right now he's on franchise contract. You don't know if they're going to offer him a contract after this.
And you know what, man? Prior to the injury, man, he was making a good statement.
Oh yeah,
great statement.
He was on pace to shatter the NFL yardage record, and now he gets injured.
And
Unfortunately,
this is why we're all like heartbroken, man.
Yeah, talking about heartbroken
Ah, shit.
for both
We
me
saved
and
the- hold on,
Raul in a
we
way.
saved the best for last.
For me and Raul,
shit.
the last game we're gonna cover, we had the Dolphins blanking the New York Jets 24-0. You know what? Listen, the one thing I'll give the Jets, we only scored 3 points in the second half.
One thing you could say, in either a Jet or Miami game, it's always gonna be ugly. You know?
Shut
It's
up.
gonna be ugly games.
Yeah, agreed.
It's gonna
But,
be an ugly game.
We had Ryan Fitzpatrick. He went 191 yards, 3 touchdowns, but then threw 2 interceptions after that. One of them amazing butt interception. That was pretty
Losing
crazy.
his starting job. To
Can you? Damn, man, you're fucking messing up the setup, bro.
I don't know. Go ahead, set
Oh
up,
my
man. You can
God.
still set up, man.
Okay,
don't
let
be
me start
upset.
all over. All right. Ryan Fitzpatrick goes for 191 yards, 3 touchdowns, and then those 2 interceptions after those initial 3 touchdowns. One of them being that amazing butt interception. But they were up comfortably at a certain point. They put in Tua Tagovailoa. He goes 2 for 2 and 9 yards. Nothing crazy. It was just at the end of the game. Ryan Fitzpatrick was leading the chants for Tua. He was actually raising his hand. He was happy.
was
because
hyping him up.
Yeah, he was
Hyping
happy,
him up.
right? And then later, a couple of days later, he comes and finds out that Coach Flores has officially replaced him, gave him the yank in favor of Tua Tagovailoa. And Ryan Fitzpatrick, man, I don't know if you guys saw that interview.
Where's
but-
the violin? Where's the sad violin
Hey,
music?
listen, as a Dolphins fan, I've always loved Ryan Fitzpatrick, except for when he was with the Jets. But I loved every point of Ryan Fitzpatrick's career. I remember when he started, I think, with Cincinnati. No, he got drafted, I think, by Cincinnati first. He's played for,
He's a journeyman.
He's a journeyman. But you know what? But there's a reason why he's been in this league 17 years, because he has just enough talent to ball out at times. Like when he was with Tampa, I remember he was balling out for the first 4 games, and then he started playing like shit. But that's Fitzmagic. It's boom or bust, right?
And you know what? Besides him being on the court, outside of the field, this guy has swagger. His interviews are hilarious,
And his
It's
teammates love him.
and it's hard not to root for a quarterback in a player like that.
Yeah,
he makes things fun.
And I think one of the quirky things about him is that he's a Harvard guy, but he plays like a caveman. He plays football like a caveman sometimes.
Yeah.
There's this meme of him and Tua Tagovailoa kind of like looking on their playbooks, and it says, "All right, so when you get this man open, just run free and then truck the linebacker." And then but it's the one thing about Ryan Fitzpatrick that has been a common thread in all his stops in the NFL is that he's a wonderful teammate. He's always been a wonderful teammate, always been a player. And even at times when he knows like he's a placeholder, like he is here in Miami, people just love playing for him because he's just such an infectious personality inside the locker room and just an infectious player, especially when he's playing well. He can get this team
Natural
his
leader.
team going. Yeah, he's a natural leader.
He's definitely very confident. He's a confident player.
Yeah. For those as many great touchdowns and awful interceptions he throws, it takes balls to throw some of those balls that he's thrown. So when he got the news that he was being replaced, I think it shocked everyone in the NFL for his interviews, how honest and full of candor he was in regards to his feelings of being replaced. He said himself, like, he knew that he was going to be replaced eventually by Tua, but he just didn't think it was going to be this soon. And considering that he's playing some of the best football of his life, he's in top 10 in a majority of quarterback stats. So for the most part, Fitzpatrick was top 10 in a lot of passing categories, top 5 in certain categories. So he was playing some of the best football in his life. So he and then on top of that, all his teammates loved him, and he really felt at home, this season. He even said it, like, I felt like the first time since Buffalo, during his tenure at Buffalo, like, this felt like my team, So he was, very sad. I won't say that he was being like dismissive at all of Tua. He even said it, like, he was like, I was really heartbroken. I was heartbroken when I got the yank, but I want Tua to play well. So he said that he felt like his heart was breaking when he got the yank, and listen, I'm a Dolphins fan, so obviously I'm gonna feel
broke my heart.
I think
it sounds like a telenovela, man.
But deadass, I think he deserved. I think what you're gonna get. I think Tua is immensely talented and is more talented than Fitzpatrick by far. That's no question about that. But I think with the veteran savvy and the way that he's been playing, and then Tua being a rookie and then coming back from injury, maybe their offensive output won't be that different. And on top of that, the team loves playing for Ryan Fitzpatrick. It was just, it's one of those few times that you see a player kind of really give, like, sincerity. Like, there's times where players can be angry. There's times that players try to be like Eli Manning, everything's going to be fine. But then for someone to offer true, like, honesty, especially in terms of disappointment and sadness.
It came from the heart.
It came from the heart, yeah. And you got to give him that because, Fitzpatrick's always the type of guy to make jokes.
Yeah.
So it was kind of hard seeing him be, like, emotional in a way.
Yeah.
He was, like, really sad.
We never seen him in that form in the past. But I mean, look, I don't know what the fuck the Dolphins, aka the Mermaids, are doing. But if you're starting off with Fitzmagic and he's giving you guys decent numbers and he's giving you a couple of wins, right?
Yeah.
Keep him on.
Well,
and this is coming from the Jets because look, Tua, yes, he's a rookie, but don't rush the kid. And look, it's hard enough that there was no preseason.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's another great point too. Yeah,
it's hard enough we did not have a preseason. Don't rush the kid. You know what I mean? Let him sit behind Ryan Fitzpatrick
for a year. Yeah, I felt that same way too. Yeah, I completely agree.
And yes, don't get me wrong. I want to see what he's about too. Especially as a Jets fan, I want to see my competition.
Yeah, definitely.
You know what I mean? But if you're smart. Let him sit back. Let him watch more video, more tape. Let him get mentored.
Can I be honest with you? And this is in relation to the Bills. The Bills started 4-0. The Dolphins at that point were, I think 2-3 or 1-3. Mm-hmm. We were 1-3 at one point. I think that the 2-game slide the Bills had, it kind of like made the Dolphins say, like, listen, we have a chance to win this division. Are we going to go with our best player? And I think we're their best quarterback, and I think that's what they were trying to aim for. The fact that since they're only one game behind the Bills now, and the Bills are showing some real weaknesses, they feel like I'm assuming that they feel like this is their chance, and they have to go with a more talented player. Me, I know that he's more talented, but do I think that he's going to give him a lot more than what Fitzpatrick can give at this point right now? I don't think so, considering his inexperience and Fitzpatrick's veteran savvy,
We don't know. We haven't seen it. I mean, look, we know what we seen when he was in college, but this is the NFL. Yeah. It's a whole different ball game, guys. This is a professional league. And now let me ask you guys a question. If things don't go the Dolphins' way and Tua, this is hypothetically speaking, he has an injury or he just gets benched, how will you guys think Ryan Fitzpatrick will feel now? Like, all right, get back to your precision. Now you're back to number one. I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I think he loves the team. I think he loves the team, so he won't feel.
He won't feel bitter.
I don't think he'll feel bitter because I think he loves the team and he loves the people he plays for. I think he's just really sad that he started feeling at home. I'm assuming if he was playing really bad, then he'd probably understand. Like, what can I do? But when you're playing some of the best football of your life, dude, you can't.
I don't know about that,
dude. Almost 6 touchdowns in the last 2 games, bro.
He is a good guy, so I don't think he will be bitter. But if you see like a lot of players in the league, like for example Antonio Brown, and the list goes on. I don't think they will react the same way.
No,
they will say, you know what? Okay, you're basically giving me the finger, and in response, I'm gonna go and say fuck you.
You know, that's a testament to Fitzpatrick's professionality. That's the reason why he's been in the league for 17 years, because he's such a pro. Even though he's such he's a goofy guy, he can joke, but he's a pro who players love playing with him.
Yeah. No, for sure.
You know,
he's someone you want on your team.
For
team morale. Yeah. Overall, he's just gonna.
He's the best backup quarterback to have. Period.
Oh, yeah.
I agree.
I would love him as my backup. That's why, as a starter,
this is one thing that a Dolphins fan and a Jets fan could agree, I guess.
Yeah.
But if I was in his position, I'm sorry, guys. If my team is telling me, you know what, you're getting benched, fuck you. I don't know, guys. I think I will have to go and say fuck you back to the team. That's
you'd be very upset.
I would be upset.
One of the speculations was
I will bounce.
That maybe they can trade him, you know, for like to the Cowboys if they still want to salvage his team. You know, that's what one of the conspiracy theories. But we don't know. You know, at the end of the day,
that sounds just about right.
Yeah.
That sounds just about right.
But hey, guys, you know what? Let's move on to Week 7.
Moving forward.
You know, the Giants and Eagles played a Thursday Night Football, so we have the results of that game: 22-21. Carson Wentz threw for 359 yards. In a winning effort, Daniel Jones ran again 92 yards, and he had that. This was the game I think he tripped and busted his ass.
Yeah,
that was hilarious.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, but again, New York, another loss. Philly trying to come back on the upswing, see where it goes, you know. Now let's go to the games that haven't been played. Detroit at Atlanta. Who do you guys have?
I got the Lions for this one.
The Lions.
I'm going with Atlanta. I'm going to Atlanta this game. Atlanta. Cleveland at Cincy.
Ooh.
You know who I'm taking. Browns all the way.
I think Joe Burrow, you know, he's been putting up good numbers in the last game.
And I think this is a mild upset. I think Cincinnati beats Cleveland.
That'll be a good one, man. Baker Mayfield going up against Joe Burrow.
Yeah. The first game was interesting. Now let's see the rematch. Pittsburgh at Tennessee. This is one of the premier matchups in the AFC right now. 5-0 Pittsburgh, 5-0 Tennessee. Who loses their O?
Shit.
2 undefeated teams.
Oh, man, this is.
I think this was the makeup game for the original when Tennessee had the COVID outbreak.
Right.
This is the makeup game for that original date.
I don't know for sure though.
Who do you guys have?
Bring your popcorn, your beers, because it's gonna be a game.
It's gonna be a brawl.
I'm gonna give the nod to Tennessee. I think it's gonna be a close game. I think it's gonna be probably in the late 20s type of score. So yeah, both teams.
Yeah, I got Big Ben and the Steelers.
What about you, Raul?
I'm liking the Steelers this one.
I don't know, guys. It could go either way, man.
50-50 toss up for you?
Toss up, man.
We have Carolina at New Orleans. Teddy Bridgewater comes back to his old team. I have New Orleans winning this one. What about you guys?
New Orleans.
KJ?
I'm taking the NO. I got the Saints.
Okay. All right, no doubt. Buffalo at New York.
The Bills.
I'm not going to get into it. Just Buffalo.
Fuck Buffalo.
Okay.
You got to go with Buffalo.
All right. Dallas at Washington. Battle of NFC East teams and going in the wrong direction.
Good news for the Cowboys.
Yeah. Well, listen, considering the hot mess Washington is right now, I'm going to give it the nod to Dallas.
Yeah, I'm going the Cowboys.
All right. Green Bay at Houston.
Who you got?
Green Bay they're gonna bounce back.
Yeah, you gotta take Green Bay.
Yeah. Tampa at Las Vegas.
Wow,
that's
gonna be a nice little matchup right there.
4:00.
Buccaneers.
I'm going with Tampa Bay.
Gotta go with
Tampa.
the Bucks. I got the GOAT.
Wasn't there breaking news, guys?
Oh yeah, you're absolutely right. Antonio Brown is in the middle of contract negotiations with the Buccaneers. They said it's most likely
officially,
the Buccaneers.
Right?
Not exactly 100% official, but they're saying they're basically like setting out a contract details. So
they reached a deal on a contract.
Oh, they already did?
1 year deal.
Yeah.
Sources by ESPN, Adam Schefter.
Okay, so now
that's a good source.
Tampa Bay and Tom Brady and Antonio Brown reunite. They only had that one game together last year, but they reunite. Let's see where things go with them.
Wow, that's a dangerous offensive lineup for the Bucks.
Yeah, especially with Mike Evans there as well. You know, we also have Kansas City at Denver. I'm taking KC in this one.
KC.
I'm taking KC as well.
All
Got
right.
Mahomes.
No doubt. San Fran at New England. This is going to be a little bit tough. Jimmy Garoppolo comes back to his former stomping grounds. I'm going to take New England. I think they bounce back. I think Cam Newton has a big game against San Fran.
Wow. 49ers.
Okay.
Yeah, same. I'm going with y'all. I got the Patriots, guys. I got Cam Newton. I think he's going to have a bounce back game, so I'm going with them.
All right. Jacksonville at Los Angeles Chargers.
Chargers.
Justin Herbert, Rookie of the Year, potentially.
Okay. All right.
Turbert.
All right. And we have Seattle at Arizona. Battle of the running quarterbacks. Battle of the quarterbacks who can also run their ass off.
Yeah.
How about that?
I like both.
I think it's going to be Seattle, but in a bar burner, I think. Personally, I think it's going to be a barn burner, but Seattle's going to pull it out.
Yeah, Seattle's the more overpowered team in this matchup.
We have Chicago at Los Angeles Chargers. Okay, so both LA teams are playing. Oh, wait a second. They're both playing in LA. They both play in the same stadium, so I guess they're playing back-to-back in the same stadium. So it's going to be Chicago at Los Angeles Rams. I'm going to take the Rams in this one.
Rams.
I'm going Bears. I'm going Nick Foles.
Okay. I wouldn't be surprised if the Bears win either, you know?
Yeah.
So that concludes our NFL coverage, guys.
Good thing your Mermaids have a bye week. That way they could try to figure out.
I think that was also part of the reason why they announced this week before the bye, because they want Tua to get as many reps for the next game to come in, you know? So see how it goes. I wanted to lightly touch the MLB playoffs. We're in the middle of the World Series, and it's so far been pretty good. You know, the Dodgers ended up pulling out that series from the grips of defeat from Atlanta, and then Tampa Bay closed it out in Game 7 against the Astros.
Yep.
So right now we're in the series is tied 1-1. Right now in Game 3, it's on right now. Dodgers are currently up 3-0 against Tampa Bay. The first game you had Clayton Kershaw. He just dominated, and it kind of he exercised his demons from what happened in his previous playoff performances. You know, we all know Clayton Kershaw, one of the greatest regular season starting pitchers of all time. But every year he's made the playoffs, he's always had serious issues in the playoffs. But then he dominates. He goes and dominates the Rays.
Game 1?
Yeah, they win 8-3. And then the next game, Tampa Bay, you know, they came back and won it 6-4.
Yeah.
You know, it seems like these teams are very evenly matched. We knew that the Rays were going to be good, but we didn't know if they were going to make it to the World Series good. And we knew that the LA Dodgers were going to make the World Series because they're just that good of a team with all that flush with money and being led by Mookie Betts, who's been an absolute beast, you know, defensively and more defensively lately, but offensively as well. You know,
I think just the Tampa Bay Rays, man, this year, their team, their squad, are just filled with a bunch of sluggers and hitters.
Yeah.
You know, big time baseball players.
Yeah, and you know, I think they're both well evenly matched. I think I'm leaning towards the Dodgers because they're just more talented. But you know, the Rays, they made it to the World Series for a reason. They beat the Astros they beat the Yankees and the Astros, two teams that were way favored this season as AFC. AFC as AL representatives in the World Series. So I mean, they beat both of the favorites.
Yeah,
they we'll see where it goes. Right now, the series is tied 1-1. Dodgers are up 3-0 right now. But I mean, listen, it wouldn't be a surprise for this season to go to Game 7.
So yeah, this World Series, I think I'm gonna go with the AL team this year, like as we were talking about with the Rays.
Yeah, I hope the Rays do win because you know the Dodgers. Yeah, they haven't won the World Series, but they make it every year. And I'm not exactly an LA Dodgers fan, so I'm hoping for the Rays. What about you, Raul? What do you think?
Wait, what?
Who do you think is gonna win this World Series? I know because the Yankees or the Mets aren't in, so you're not really as invested. Neither am I, but I'm still, I still try to catch you.
Look, it's hard not to go with the team that's been most consistent in all these playoffs. You know, all these years the Dodgers have always been up there. You know, so for me, as a casual fan and watching baseball, I'll have to go for the Dodgers. And, shout out to, LA,
Shout
right?
out to LA, Los Angeles.
Yeah,
Man.
yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what. If Clayton Kershaw
Beautiful
has
city.
another performance like he did in Game 1, and the Dodgers win the series, would not be surprised if they gave it to him as the World Series MVP. Either him or Betts, because they've really been playing super well this year. So it goes to show you anything can happen, especially in baseball. Also, we're having a big weekend in the UFC matters. We have Khabib fighting for the first time since coronavirus hit, fighting against Justin Gaethje, who absolutely dominated El Cucuy, Tony Ferguson.
Yeah, I saw that fight.
Yeah. So the background history was that the original match that Gaethje and Ferguson fought was actually supposed to be Tony Ferguson versus Khabib for the championship, for the lightweight championship. And they scheduled this fight 5 times.
Yeah, right.
And they've now officially been canceled 5 times. And then the last time, the reason why? Coronavirus. They were both ready to go. So then Ferguson takes a short notice fight against Justin Gaethje because Khabib couldn't make it to the location to fight. No, I think they fought in Vegas at that one.
And also Khabib he was going through a lot of personal issues.
Yeah, his dad passed away from coronavirus. He died from complications of coronavirus.
Yeah.
And his dad was a big part of his life.
Yeah, his camp too.
Yeah, and predicted Khabib will go 30-0 and then retire. So Khabib is already 2 wins away from that, and he loses his father before that 30-win prediction can come true. So right now Ferguson took a short notice fight against Gaethje, and Gaethje just dominated him. And I feel bad for Tony Ferguson because he's literally beat everyone in that division. He was the interim champion at one point, got stripped because he got injured, and then kind of had to win back. So he's proven himself time and time over, and yet has never been officially adorned with the lightweight championship. He was adorned with the interim championship, but not the real championship. And his opportunity against Khabib goes poof in one loss against Justin Gaethje. And then the one fight he loses happens to be the short notice fight that he's supposed to fight for the championship, and now he loses the opportunity. So I feel bad for Tony Ferguson. But as for Justin Gaethje has been in with monsters, and Justin Gaethje is a monster himself. I think he's best remembered for his fight against Dustin Poirier. It was a barn burner. There was back and forth action. He got knocked out by Poirier eventually. Poirier was actually the last fight that Khabib had, and he got dominated by Poirier got dominated by Khabib. So after that fight against Poirier, Gaethje kind of reinvented himself. He's a college wrestler with heavy fucking hands, but it seemed like every fight he got into, it was going to be a barn burner. And I think he started honing down on his technical skills and started fighting smarter fights. And now he's in the position that he's in now. In that fight against Tony Ferguson, he took his time. He basically broke Tony Ferguson down by constantly going up and down, head, body, and just hurting Ferguson over time. So now we have Khabib versus Justin Gaethje in the main match for tomorrow's fights. I think Khabib is going to win. However, there is a slim part of me. I think Khabib is going to most likely win as he always wins. Wrestles, gets your leg, doesn't get off you, and starts pummeling you and mauling you like a little bear.
I'm going to smash that guy.
I mean, I do respect Khabib, though. He's a no-nonsense type of guy. He doesn't talk shit. He's just I want to fight.
He's a very likable guy.
Yeah, he's a likable guy. Yeah,
he looks like a guy that you would want in your crew.
Yeah. He's just like I think
genuine guy.
Yeah, he's a genuine guy. He's born in Chechnya. He's Russian, but also Muslim, so he covers 2 fan bases in a way. So he represents a lot of the Islamic community, and he represents a lot of the Russian and Dagestan. I'm sorry, he's from Dagestan, Dagestani community. So I think he's gonna win typical fashion. But there's a part of me that I can't let go, that Justin Gaethje that tells me Justin Gaethje can land a bomb on Khabib, and Khabib is never shown to have a weak chin whatsoever.
I don't know much about fights in the UFC. I do know both fighters. Surprisingly, I've seen their fights before. Mm-hmm. But I know enough to know that a fight in the UFC, anything could happen. I know we like to say that boxing, anything could happen, but I feel like the equivalence to the UFC,
I agree.
it's that, but even intense more, you know?
Yeah.
It only takes a crazy chokehold or a choke or like
like
a
an
crazy elbow.
Mhm.
Yeah, we've seen this.
Yeah.
So you could have the numbers favoring a fighter, but anything can happen. So, Kyle, if you feel like Gaethje could surprisingly have something that you feel like, hey, you know what, Khabib doesn't necessarily, would win, I believe it.
Yeah. Listen, it's UFC. We've seen crazier things happen.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that would definitely be interesting. I think that that is going to be a typical Khabib performance. And he said after this fight, the only fight he really wants is that GSP super fight. I don't think it's going to happen. I think they're still trying to set up him and Conor. But he doesn't want to fight Conor. He doesn't want to fight Conor.
Yeah.
But hey, listen, if the UFC says, hey, you give enough
I
money,
yeah.
everyone has a certain breaking point with money. you know?
I saw an interview that Khabib said, I don't care if UFC give me $4 billion, I'm not gonna take it. And the way he said it, and just the hate against the Conor and his team, I believe it. He shut him.
My fault. Go ahead.
He shut him up already. He shut his camp, and Khabib is such a gangster and such a
he fights like one.
and all around, man. I wouldn't want him to go up against Conor
He whooped Conor's ass.
to smash him again. Nah.
What was Khabib's last fight?
Like I said, Dustin Poirier. He beat Dustin Poirier by submission.
Isn't Dustin Poirier the fighter that's gonna face
That's
Conor McGregor?
they're trying to line that
In
up for next
in January,
year.
right?
Yeah, for next year. So yeah, they fought before and Conor knocked him out. So this is going to be a rematch. But that fight was like 7 years ago. So
Wow.
yeah, and in the undercard fight we have former middleweight champion Robert Whittaker from New Zealand taking on Jared Cannonier, who has been kind of like a name now, even though like I didn't know much about him, but he's with his wins recently, he's kind of been making a name for himself. And we have Robert Whittaker, who was surprisingly middleweight champion by beating Yoel Romero twice, and he ended up losing his championship to the now pound for pound top 3 pound for pound guy Israel Adesanya. So this is kind of like his way back into the title picture. And he's fighting Cannonier, who actually I think he was fighting in a lighter weight. I think he was fighting, let me double check. He was fighting at light heavyweight and was very up and down in his career. He lost to Dominic Reyes. He lost to John Blankovic. He lost to Glover Teixeira. But then he moved down to middleweight, which a lot of fighters seem to do in the UFC. And he had 3 straight finishes, one of them being Anderson Silva. Yeah, he's over the hill, but beating Anderson Silva nevertheless. He also beat Jack Hermanson and David Branch in his other 3 wins. So with this win, if he does beat Robert Whittaker, it puts him really square in the middle of the championship picture of the middleweight division. So, but I think Robert Whittaker is very experienced. He really lost to Israel Adesanya simply because he just wasn't as good. Israel Adesanya is on another level in terms of talent, and he was not as good. But I think he's good enough to redeem his championship form and beat Jared Cannonier, despite Cannonier making waves at middleweight, after an up and down career at light heavyweight. I know you guys don't know much about the UFC, but most UFC guys are actually pretty intrigued by this fight because, Robert Whittaker is not afraid to be in the street fight, and Jen Cannonier has 3 straight finishes. So it's going to be interesting. And, this card is going to be great. Obviously, the main reason why everyone's going to watch is going to see Khabib because he's a superstar right now. So, we'll just leave it at that. Guys, it's that time of the podcast again.
Oh.
For our GOATs of the week and our Mas Puta list. As always, we start with our Mas Puta list. I'm going to leave it off to Raul. Raul, who is on your Mas Puta list?
Okay, so my Mas Puta of the week is not an athlete, is a judge. Her name is Julie Edelman. Letterman.
Yeah.
That's how much I care.
She's the daughter of Hal Letterman.
The wide receiver for
No. The HBO, the guy who used to the unofficial judge for HBO.
Yeah.
Harold Letterman. She's the daughter of Harold Letterman. And she used to be a really good judge, and she's had some pretty shitty performances recently.
Yeah, what the fuck?
I don't know,
right?
but she was the one with the 119, 110 undercard. Card, right?
If you thought CJ Ross was bad,
she's bad.
She's
yeah. I think she hasn't been in a title.
She
hasn't been in a title picture. I mean, as a judge since her Manny Pacquiao, Tim Bradley. Yeah, was it 2000? I think her last match was that one, the Bradley versus Pacquiao. That was her last big fight. And she fucked that one up.
But, man, if you think she was bad, I mean, she's just up there with her. Julie, she scored. I mean, look, we already broke down the Teofimo Lopez Lomachenko fight. It was a close fight, but Teofimo, in my eyes, he won. Just like everybody else's. In some opinions, he won comfortably. Some people may also think that it might have been a draw, which, okay, I could agree with that maybe. True. But in the end of the day, the right winner won. But am I going to go ahead and say he won in a 119-111 score? No. That's dramatically too much. That's too much. That's too much, guys.
That was a terrible.
That's too much. And the reason why I'm arguing about this, and I have her as my mas puta of the week, is this is what's wrong with the sport. There's certain things that are tainting fights and causing potential great fights to be a robbery. Certain fighters to take a loss in their record, which it shouldn't have been. And this is one thing that I hate about the sport. And this is why I'm not going to get much into it, because I don't want to rant. I don't want to get pissed off. But it's an obvious reason why she's on the list. And Kyle, what do you think, man?
Well, she had a pretty good reputation, actually. And then I think the last couple of fights, she's really put in some really suspect cards. I'm gonna look up actually one of the bad ones one of the worst ones that she kind of posted. Let me see. Look it up.
And look, my immediate reaction when I saw that score from her, me and my dad just turned around and looked at each other and just said, "What the fuck?"
Yeah, that's
crazy. So you're gonna tell me Lomachenko lost the 8th round, which he won that, and I don't want to say he won that by miles, but he won it. That's when he started to pick up the pace.
Yeah.
The 9th round. So you're gonna tell me he lost that round too? Like, what are you watching, man?
Yeah, 8 and 9 I had Lomo.
What are you watching? But I don't know. I mean, yes. If Teofimo's father wants to go ahead and say, "Hey, my son won all the rounds," that's in his nature to say, because one, he's his head coach. Two, that's his father. He's gonna be biased. I get it. But that's his pops. You're a judge. Judge correctly, man.
That that 12th round was the deciding factor right there.
Yeah.
To that fight.
What about you, KJ?
My mas puta
as your mas puta?
My mas puta of the week is gonna be Baker Mayfield. Just having a terrible game. Overall, the Browns had a terrible game. 119 yards, 10 for 18. He got pulled out and was replaced by Case Keenum. So my mas puta, Baker Mayfield, man, step it up for next week.
Well, if you were OBJ, KJ, what would you? How would you voice your displeasure to Baker Mayfield?
Because I do play receiver, it's just you can't express any frustration. He has to be more humble about it, and I'm sure that's a problem of his. But he's a playmaker at that, and we know if you get the playmakers the ball, they're gonna make plays happen. And OBJ is proved to the league that he could do that.
Who's your mas puta?
Baker Mayfield.
Shit!
Does he play for the Browns?
He does play for the Browns.
Oh shit!
Surprisingly, right? But yeah, only 3 targets to your best receiver maybe in the league. It's just you gotta get him the ball.
I'm not surprised you feel that way, Cajun.
Yeah.
I'm gonna stick to the QB mas puta. I'm gonna have Josh Allen as my mas puta.
Kyle's a hater on the low.
Because
think he is.
He's a hater on the low.
I would agree with Kyle if he would have gave Daniel Jones the mouse put of the week.
You know what?
For potentially like he cost them the game with that last running. He was running and he passed everybody to go and walk into that touchdown red zone area. But what does he do? He slips and he falls. And because of that, they lost the game.
Well, I mean, listen, the Giants are easy to pick on. The reason why I have Josh Allen is twofold. One, he has his team. You know, he was in the MVP conversation. He had his team at 4-0. It was great.
Okay.
They play an elite team in Tennessee, and they get wiped out 42-16. He has 263 yards passing, 2 interceptions, 2 touchdowns. Those touchdowns coming too late. And then he goes and plays at Kansas City. Patrick Mahomes has not been playing well. So how many times are you going to get a KC team that can't score as dominantly as they normally have?
That's a good
right?
argument.
They give 26 points to KC, and what does he do? Goes 14 for 27, which is just over 50%, 122 yards, 51% completion percentage, and
2 touchdowns,
1 interception. All right, yeah, those numbers don't look too bad, okay, but you have your team at 4-0 in the midst of being one of the elite teams in the NFL, and then you face 2 excellent teams and you shit the rug.
But the
twice.
top 2 teams in the AFC, Kyle, you gotta understand that.
Well, that's why he's not Patrick Mahomes, because Patrick Mahomes can play not well and still pull out a win against a dominant team because they are an elite team. Part of the reason they're an elite team is because Patrick Mahomes is an excellent quarterback.
The MVP of the league.
Yeah. But now Josh Allen, who's been playing super well, starts 4-0. You play 2 of the best teams on your schedule, elite, and you get dominated in both. And then your play isn't all that. Yeah, he didn't play awful like Jimmy Garoppolo against Miami, but it clearly showed that you got outclassed by the opposing quarterback, you know? And these are the important games, especially early in the season, where if you're an up-and-coming playoff team, you have to play well against other soon-to-be playoff teams because people are going to judge you. Oh, what are you going to do in the playoffs? And Josh Allen, hey, he was getting MVP buzz and all that stuff, and then he runs through 2 buzzsaws in a row. Yeah, if they lost and he was playing very well, it would have been a different story. I think a different narrative. But when you play that bad against the 2 best teams so far in your schedule, and then not only that, but now you lose the luster of that 4-0 start. And now people are the Bills any really good? Because they can dominate teams that are okay or not good. But then the 2 great teams that they play, meh, you know?
I disagree with Kyle.
Yeah, I could see what Kyle, his points and has to say about
Josh Allen.
About the Bills and Josh Allen, but I'd rather lose to the Titans and to KC than and guys, this is a lot to say from me being a Jets fan.
Yeah.
But if the Jets go and beat the Bills, then I would say, you know what? I 100% agree with you, Kyle. Because if a team as bad as the Jets beat them in that conference game, then what the hell do they have to prove down in the road to that potential playoff spot? But these are 2 giants, man. So if I'm going to lose a game, I'd rather lose to the big dogs.
Yeah.
And you know what, guys? We'll see. I know they're going to rebound, especially this week that they have a game against the Jets. They're going to take everything they saw on film and work on it on this game. Well, I know that for sure. They're going to do a 360 and turn this around.
Okay. Well, now here's the thing. They're only 1 game ahead in the AFC East, and not a good division, might add.
No.
They're most likely gonna win if New England doesn't, find their rhythm, which they're capable of doing anytime either.
True.
So, I understand your point, guys, but my point is this: you play 2 of the best teams in the AFC, and you don't play well. You throw 3 interceptions after only throwing 1 interception the rest of the games. You throw 3 interceptions in those 2 combined games. You throw, most of the yard stats that he got in Tennessee were in garbage time, he just didn't play well against Kansas City in a game that Patrick Mahomes wasn't playing well. So if you're gonna get in a game that against the all-world MVP Patrick Mahomes, and you get a game like that from him, and you don't capitalize on it, now it goes to show you. Now you say you rather lose to the 2 best teams. Yeah, of course you want to. If you're gonna play the best, you're gonna lose to the best, but at the same token, that just shows, oh, okay, they can't beat good teams. It's gonna be like Kirk Cousins.
No, I agree.
Because Kirk Cousins always dominates the shitty teams, but then when he goes to the playoffs, what do you do? Shits the rug.
I agree what you mentioned that, first off.
And also they lose the mental edge now. If you lose like that in those two games.
No, not at all. If
you don't think so?
No, because if quote unquote they lost the mental edge, they're just going to go ahead and bounce right back and gain all that mental edge with the Jets. It's a whole new week, a whole new weekend. And plus, yes, they played against the Kansas City Chiefs that Patrick Mahomes wasn't up to par. But he's not playing against, like, full-on with Patrick Mahomes. He's playing up against a very good, great defensive.
Aggressive
defense. We'll see.
Kansas City.
But we're going to have to see because the Jets' defense actually isn't playing all that bad. They just get a lot of bad field position.
No, yeah, and I'll be the first one to say. So I'll be the first one
what
to
happens
say.
if he doesn't ball out against the Jets?
He's gonna ball out against the Jets.
And
he will.
You know what? And if he doesn't ball out, then I will personally give him my Masputo of the week to Josh Allen. Okay. If he doesn't ball out
I
against
think
the
it
Jets.
makes more sense for Fitzpatrick to be the Masputo of the week.
No.
Josh Allen.
No,
For losing the starting job.
No, you heard what I said earlier in this segment.
It's not his fault.
Yeah. No. If anything, what I said earlier in this segment to start off, I told him, if anything, I would agree with him if he would have chose Daniel Jones as a Masputo of the week. He would have been a better candidate compared to
the Josh Allen, right?
Josh Allen,
I
sure.
disagree with your Josh Allen Masputo of the week.
Okay,
bro.
well, considering that you gave Anthony Davis, who was the best player on that game, the Masputa list, I can give fucking Josh Allen my Masputa for playing 2 bad games. Thank you very much.
No, I mean, you're entitled to your own opinion, so that's what we're here
Stats
for.
Stats don't lie, all right? But
Good
anyway,
point,
we're going to go to our GOAT of the week, and for the first time, we have a unanimous GOAT of the week.
Yep.
This is going to be an ode to Teofimo Lopez,
Teo.
now fully undisputed lightweight champion, youngest undisputed lightweight champion in boxing history in the 4-belt era. And just an overall tremendous performance against an elite master boxer in VASYL Lomachenko. Raul, I'm going to let you start it off and give me your opinions on Lopez and why he was your GOAT of the week.
Hashtag the takeover. The takeover, yeah. That's his slogan. Man. That's his thing, the takeover. We're going to Disney World. This guy, time after time, he said it. His dad spoke into existence. We're going to win the division. We're going to beat the pound-for-pound fighter in the world. And that's exactly what they did. He not only showed everybody in the world that he's not just a slugger, he's a boxer. And he did with elite speed, precise timing, the works. The compliments go on. His philosophy after the fight is, I want to take on the best. He called out Devin Haney, Gervonta Davis. And not only did he call them out, he called them out on their flaws. Gervonta Davis, these are cherry-picking fighters. He's facing a Leo Santa Cruz that he's a natural 126 fighter. Or David Haney, your camp is picking fights for you. And the list, and so on, etc. I like this. He wants the division. He wants this boxing sport to go back to the Oscar de la Hoyas, Trinidad, Bernard Hopkins, Sugar Shea Mosley, where everybody fought the best. And I'm on board. I believe what he's saying. He proved it by winning this fight. And he definitely made a lot of more fans, and his fan base just grew. And I want to see what he's up next, what he has to provide us.
Excellently said. What about you, KJ? Why is he your GOAT of the week?
So, yeah, Teo, man. Just overall, you got to respect a young 23-year-old coming from Honduras. I mean, he's from Honduras, but he's, coming from Brooklyn. And he just fought very well. He outboxed Lomachenko in a lot of rounds that I thought. I can respect the guy who's calling out the best, wanting to fight the best, and I'm excited to see what his next fight has to offer and what he offers to the fans.
Nice. I'm a little bit more tempered in my enthusiasm for Teofimo Lopez because although I think he's the best 135 pounder right now, like I said, I think if the rematch happens, I think Lomachenko, like I said, figured something out in those 9 to 11 rounds, and could continue that that blueprint from into the next rematch. So I would have VASYL Lomachenko slightly favored in a rematch. I also think that at 140, he would have some issues with guys like Josh Taylor, guys who can take those power punches from a 135 pounder. I mean, yeah, he could probably put on weight and be stronger, but then you're also fighting more sturdy guys. Jose Ramirez can take a punch. I think he can outbox Jose Ramirez, but Jose Ramirez can take a punch, and I think Josh Taylor, he loves to bang, and he could take a punch too, and he could dole it out too. While both of them aren't necessarily one hitter quitters, they're both sturdy 140-pound fighters who have very good skills and who have really good experience too. So they're both experienced boxers, just like Teofimo Lopez, and they're them two are gonna fight. And one of them is going to be the undisputed 140-pound champion. So you're going to have another undisputed fighter fighting, against a rising superstar in Teofimo Lopez. So I'm a little bit more tempered in my enthusiasm for Teofimo Lopez. But the reason why he's my go-to the week is because in the era of social media, where a lot of these younger fighters seem to do most of their fighting on their Twitter keyboards rather than in the ring, Teofimo Lopez from the get said, I want that fight against Lomachenko. He chased that fight against Lomachenko. He got the fight against Lomachenko. And again, credit to Lomachenko for taking a risk against a guy, although he was also a fellow champ. Hey, he could have waited. He didn't have to fight. Teofimo Lopez, He didn't have to do that, but he did because he wanted to prove he was the best, just like Teofimo Lopez. They both wanted to prove who was the best 135-pound fighter in the division. And Teofimo, you know what he did? He took the opportunity and ran with it. He didn't talk Twitter. He didn't talk Instagram. He didn't talk social media, Facebook. He fought. And I think that's something severely lacking in today's game, especially in that particular 126 to 135, those three divisions. You have Ryan Garcia, internet superstar, who seems to be known more from his Instagram than the opponents that he's fought. You have guys like Devin Haney, who are super talented, but, bro, you haven't fought nobody. Shakur Stevenson, again, super talented. You haven't fought nobody. All you guys are just talking shit. Tank Davis, he talks a lot of shit. At least he fought some names, but he looked terrible in that fight against a man who was way past his prime. And what's his name? Gamboa, right? And Gamboa had a torn Achilles, and he still fought him 12 rounds, even though Davis is supposedly a knockout puncher, right?
Teofimo's called him out on that too.
Yeah, and then not only that, now Haney is also going to fight Gamboa as well, even though he was complaining that Lomachenko's too old. And Teofimo Lopez, he's too old. But you're fighting Gamboa, who's way past his prime.
Yeah, he destroyed Gamboa. I saw that fight recently.
Yeah, but he didn't get knocked out by Gamboa. Gamboa stood there.
He outclassed Gervonta Davis, outboxed, and just overall took over that fight against Gamboa.
No, he did not take over that fight.
Took over that
Gamboa
fight.
was fighting with the same injury that Kobe Bryant had to miss a year for.
No, yeah, it shows. He got rocked.
Yeah, and then what happened? He fought back. He couldn't even knock out a 38-year-old Gamboa with a torn Achilles. That's a serious injury. It's a serious
Gamboa, you got to respect Gamboa.
The problem with Davis is that he's very talented, but you can see when he's not in fight shape, he's fat. I'm not gonna call someone fat. I'm not gonna call him fat, but he gets really out of shape he in between fights. He balloons up and down, kind of like Ricky had. So the reason why Teofimo Lopez is my go to the week is because you know what? In an era of Twitter finger fights and internet boxers,
I like that.
He was like, you know what? I want to fight the best. I'm gonna take on the best. Fuck the politics. Let's go. Hopefully politics don't get in the way of a rematch, but you know what? I respect that, and he's on the rise. He's a tremendous boxer. He still has a lot to prove. You know, you never know, because just like, you know, Ricky Hatton, he beat Kostya Tszyu in an upset, and Kostya Tszyu was one of the top, fighters at the time. And then Hatton, then again, had a close fight with what's his name? That Puerto Rican boxer from Brooklyn.
Wait, what?
Well, you know, I don't want to put too much hype in Teofimo Lopez, because, you know, you don't know. This could be the beginning of a superstar rise, or it could be like Ricky Hatton, who, when he beat Kostya Tszyu, you know, he beat a pound per pound favorite, and then all of a sudden.
Nah, I mean, I see the point you're trying to make out, but with Ricky Hatton, he had a few devils in his closet, drugs.
Yeah, I mean,
and all that,
don't get me wrong.
cocaine,
There's different things, but
and age. But
yeah.
Teofimo Lopez, I think
I think he's way more
disciplined.
focused.
Yeah, way more disciplined.
But you don't
23, young.
But
We've seen him with Comey.
Yeah.
Now with Lomachenko.
And
it's just,
don't get me
the
wrong.
list is gonna
He
grow.
looked great, but then we also had that issue with Nakatani. And he looked really bad in that. Even though he won that, he looked really bad in that
You
fight.
always talk about that fight. I gotta really.
You gotta watch that fight,
dissect that fight
because even
and
he
see what
said
that's
after
about.
the fight, he's like, "Oh, this wasn't my best performance." So you don't know if anybody can get distracted.
but-
Like if he fights a 140 guy,
Look, fighters either they grow, they make it, or break it. We're seeing that he's making it.
yeah. Well, I would like again. I'm gonna give. He's my go to the week because he talked the talk. Like he dared to be great. He wanted to fight the best, and you know he beat Lomachenko, and you know I wish him nothing but the best in the future.
I guess the real question here in this room that we could answer now is any 135-pounder fighter in the division? Do you see anybody of
No.
these guys beating him?
No, not
I agree.
135. I
agree.
can see a couple guys beating him at 140, but I don't see him nobody beating him at 135.
And the great thing about this, he's so young, he doesn't need to rush it either.
No, he could take his time.
He
Yeah,
doesn't need to
could take his
rush it.
time.
He could dominate that lightweight division as long as he likes.
Yeah.
And
As
then
long
wait
as his
for-
body allows him to. Yeah.
And oh yeah, that's true, because we all know once we grow, our body grows out of the weight that we're currently either we're fighting or we're playing sports.
Yeah,
and
with age comes
with age,
natural weight that you put on.
So he could wait for the right moment to move up.
Yeah. I mean, well, all we know is that his star is on the rise, and I'll be here for it. I'll be glad to watch it.
Shout out to Teofimo Lopez.
Our go to the week, Teofimo Lopez.
Hopefully you hear this.
Yeah, he's definitely listening. Come on, guys. Honey Bunches of Goats podcast. Follow our Instagram, our Twitter. Right?
I hope he's listening. Hopefully,
Nah, he's definitely listening.
You know what? Let's mark our words. Down the
listening.
road, we'll have a sit-down interview with him.
Yeah, if
We will,
everything
trust
goes
me.
well, hopefully.
We will.
All right, guys. Episode 13 in the books. What up? I just want to say thank you for listening. You know, it's a pleasure always to join you guys and shoot the shit when it comes to sports. You know, from the bottom of my heart, Kyle,
Raul,
KJ.
we want to thank you for listening, guys. Honey Bunches of Ghosts podcast. We out.
we out
this
here.
bit. Deuce.
You got knocked the